everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. We got Philly Sports Guy and Stat Guy. Stat Guy, you got a guest today. Let us know about him.
We do have a guest today. We have Matt Shepardson with us today. Matt Shepardson was the former manager of the Joliet Slammers in the Frontier Independent Baseball League, and he's now the deputy commissioner of the Frontier Baseball League.
Awesome. And welcome in, Matt.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being here.
The Frontier Baseball League. Now, where is that kind of located out of?
Yeah, the Frontier League is the oldest of the continuously working here of the independent baseball leagues. We're an MLB partner league, and our geographic footprint spans really from the Mississippi River to the Atlantic Ocean. We on the south, we added this year teams in Jackson, Mississippi area and Pearl, Mississippi, as well as Kinston, North Carolina. Both of those are former markets of affiliated minor league teams. So you had the Mississippi Braves and the Down East Wood Ducks. And then in the north, we've got Ottawa, Quebec City, and Trois-Rivières, Quebec is as far north as we go. We've got pockets in the Chicago area where we have 3 teams: St. Louis, Evansville, Indiana, Cincinnati area with Florence, Kentucky being our team there. The Pittsburgh area with the Washington Wild Things, 3 teams in the New York metro area and 1 in Albany. Then we hit Cleveland coming back the other direction. So, we really do have a large footprint. Oh, I forgot we had Boston last year as well. Trying to make sure I hit all of our markets there as we do our rundown. Yeah, we added Boston with the New England Knockouts last year in Brockton, Massachusetts, just south of Boston.
Nice.
And do players come and do you guys do like a draft, or do players come and solicit your league in comparison? Like if they have not been picked up or not been drafted or just got out of college and haven't been noticed yet, is that how they come about to getting into your league?
Yeah, both actually. We have different ways that it happens. Obviously, what you just said, those guys who are coming out of college or maybe on that draft bubble, we allow players to come in and keep their draft eligibility between college and the time of that Rule 4 draft. So we'll get a good number of players finishing up their senior season or 5th or 6th or whatever you want to call the NCAA calendar these days. But we get a good number of people who will come out trying to looking to either keep competing, get their name into draft conversations, or raise their draft stock. I had a player pitch for us in Joliet a couple seasons ago named Ricky Castro. Ricky had played most of his career at Purdue, did a grad year at Tulane, made it into the NCAAs at Tulane, then came to pitch for us. Ultimately, he was trying to raise his draft stock. He got signed by the Twins, I think, the second week of the next season after he'd proven himself, and the Twins ended up signing him and bringing him up. So we see that a lot. We also do have relationships with both, agents and college coaches. So if the player's not directly reaching out to us, a lot of times, we'll speak with, in our 18 managers and player personnel folks. They'll speak with managers, and then players will reach out directly to us, and we'll make sure they get out. And then finally, every year, just prior to spring training, we do a workout camp and draft, where players who have not yet signed get the opportunity to come in and showcase for us in a combine style workout with a simulated game where it's kind of wild. Everybody starts with a 1-1 count and kind of a 4 guys up and a big rotation of the guys that coaches want to see more of. And we do our league draft just following that. And then the next day or the following day after that, most of our camps will open. So it's that last shot. I should also mention we have a partnership with the California Winter League, and every team will sign at least one player out of the California Winter League to come into camp with them, and that's another great spot for guys. Maybe they finished their college career last year and they didn't stick on anywhere. California Winter League's, high level of competition for them to get in, be baseball ready. And again, we partner with them. So every one of our teams will bring in at least one player from the California Winter League.
And I know when minor league baseball went through their convention a couple of years ago where they got rid of 30 teams, a lot of people were wondering what was going to happen to those teams, what was going to happen to a lot of those players. And that's where leagues like you have really kind of benefited from that, because you have 9 total independent baseball leagues, but you have 4 of them which are considered MLB partner leagues. You have your league, you have the Appalachian League, you have the Pioneer League, and then you have the American Baseball Association, which are considered the 4 partner leagues to the MLB. When Major League Baseball decided to condense the minor leagues and get rid of all those teams, what was the process that went into it where some of these teams that lost their minor league team ended up getting a team in like the Independent League for the Frontier League, etc.?
Yeah, just minor correction: the Atlantic League rather than the Appy League is the partner league. So, without speaking for other leagues or other teams, I can talk about what the process on our side is, because there are different agreements based on some of it's geographic, some of it was maybe affinity based footprint, and then some of it was just plain dollars and cents and legal, where MLB agreed with some of the contracted teams, let's say, who ended up in the Pioneer League out more to the west. There are a number of teams that ended up in that Pioneer League who had been, and MLB has various agreements with them as a transition. We ended up, obviously the Tri-City Valley Cats had been the Houston Astros A affiliate. They ended up in our league. It for us, both former affiliated markets and the contracted markets, we really look for good ownership, good operators. Are they bringing a high level of operation? Do they know how to run a minor league club? Does it make sense within our current geographic footprint and maybe our future goals for where we'd like to be geographically? And there's so much that can go into it, but we're in a huge time of growth. The Frontier League merged with the Can-Am League. Coming out of 2019, we didn't actually get to start playing until 2021 together, and we added a bunch of those teams that were much farther east than the previous Frontier League footprint had been, and so adding Tri-City into that eastern push made a ton of sense, because we ended up at 15 teams at that point with the travel team, and that worked out. And then we continue to look for markets where maybe ownership of that minor league group has shifted and has moved out for business reasons or realignment reasons within that major league team. Just as a great example, there used to be teams. You just because you were in New York didn't mean you were remotely close to your minor league clubs. Chicago having a team in Eugene, Oregon, it not necessarily the most logical lineup of where things are, and that's been a conscious effort on the part of a lot of teams to move into more geographically logical radius. So we're going into talks with some of those. So we added Kinston and Mississippi this offseason as the Braves moved to Georgia, and the Down East team in Kinston, North Carolina, had gone through multiple multiple affiliations, but it's a great market and they want professional baseball there. So we're able to go in and offer a really high level of competition at maybe a lower operating cost than some other organizations or leagues might offer, and give that community the chance to still engage in high level professional baseball and development back, through economic means and community spirit means with the game of baseball.
Would this league be considered like a high A league, or like double A, or like low double A, high A?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's one we get asked all the time, because we're not a direct affiliation. We're not slotted into a spot. There are outside organizations that do comparisons and grading based on the players who are playing in our league, players, how they move up, where they end up, all those sorts of things. And so last year, the last one I saw was that we would be graded as a high A, low double A, in terms of an analog to what we do. But again, because we're not in line in the player development hierarchy for a team, we don't get slotted in that way.
In that scenario, how do your prospects get viewed by the MLB? Do you have to reach out to them with prospects, or do they have scouts that are coming to the game to, check this talent out?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, both. So MLB teams will subscribe to our analytic data packages. That's kind of number one. They definitely are always up for being, I shouldn't say up for, but we do solicit them. As coaches, we want our guys to get to the next level. The way I put it is the more guys that get to higher and higher levels, the better guys I get in, the more guys are going to get to higher and higher levels. So, it's that cyclical thing. So, having good relationships with various levels of scouts with the different teams is an important part of working in our league. And then, from our draft on, you'll see scouts, pretty much every day somewhere in our league from different teams. And most teams, have good communication on what they're looking for, the folks they're looking for. And we're able to help steer them a little bit and say, you might want to keep an eye on this guy. And then, of course, these days, video and streaming and keeping an eye on guys from afar. So many of our players in our league have previous affiliated experience that there's already scouting books on a lot of them. And so when they come to our league, we might not need to have conversations about it. There might be 5 or 6 teams watching a specific guy. And then, as the process goes, sometimes they'll end up in rookie ball and go prove themselves there, especially if it's their first time in an affiliated program. Other guys, I had the pitcher Tyler J as part of our staff in Joliet. He ended up moving directly to AAA from pitching with us before he moved to the big leagues this last season. So, with the level of player, kind of where they are in their development, their age, that plays into it for sure. But it's a great launch pad, for those players who are looking to get back. It's a great launching pad for the players who are looking for their first experience. And what's really kind of exciting and what I love so much about what we do is that it's not that linear. We're just looking to slot you up to the next slot, move you on. I'm not following a rigid plan. We're there to compete. We're there to help you be the best you can be, rather than you be what our organization wants or thinks you should be. And it's just a great league. And, we've got such great managers around our league with varied experience, great coaching staffs. And it gives these guys the chance to really, be it play out the end of their career or make that next step.
And
So
that
how-
was
I do appreciate that wins matter in your league.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's I'm mildly competitive, so I like leagues that actually have a reason to produce. Not to say that, you know, A ball doesn't, but that's not their primary focus.
No.
Right. And you know, I think I won't say it's always the way we draw it up, because like in A ball, we don't know that the guys who start on our roster are still going to be there. You know, going into I was working on Aaron Nikula's staff. Aaron Nikula was the minor league coordinator for the A's, and I was working on his staff in Joliet, and I think it was 5 guys in the week and a half before, or 3 guys in the week and a half before, and then 5 guys in the first 2 weeks of the season all got signed.
that is
right.
not a surprise to me with the Ace.
So, well, no, it wasn't. He was with the A's. This was in Joliet. But you know, we went in with this idea that, man, we've got this solid pitching staff, you know, and the top 5 pitchers are gone in 2 weeks, you know, and Kansas City's got one, and Arizona's got one, and the Twins have one, and the Reds have one. The Angels take our catcher and move him to AAA, and so you know, it's not easy to win. It's not easy to keep going, and there certainly still are those, you know, we really valued that. Let's get guys on our roster who we think have the ability to go play. Maybe we needed to learn the game a little bit better at that point, and learn that maybe you want the guys who are almost there sometimes. I know we want to compete. We want to keep competing, but we also want to see those guys move on and move up and give them that opportunity. That being said, if you know, for folks who didn't get a chance to watch, our playoffs are as exciting as anything you will see. This last season came down to a walk-off in Quebec between the Quebec Capitals and the Washington Wild Things, and I have been at you know, World Series games, and I will tell you the atmosphere was no less.
Crowd was nuts.
Yeah, it was no less than the atmosphere in that stadium was no less fanatical than being at a World Series game walk-off. It was exciting, and the fans are invested, and the community is invested. You know, that level of competition all the way to the very end is something we're really proud of.
And that's kind of what I was going to ask too, how you were saying, like, how you like lose a lot of pitchers kind of at a quick pace sometimes. How does like a contract work in the Frontier League? Like, do the players sign like individual, like 1-year contracts, or is it more kind of like a loan where they're playing with you until maybe a major league team calls them and wants them in their system?
So the way it works is they sign contracts with our league. In any professional league's contracts, there's always going to be trade and purchase you know, caveats into that. We have an agreement with Major League Baseball where there's a unified system of purchasing players, so it's not the Wild West. That price is already set of per contract purchase. The whole process is set. You know, the legality of who owns rights and where rights come back and all that sort of thing is all worked out as one of the partner leagues with MLB. So we as a league do 1-year contracts, and most teams will exercise options for a second year for those players. But anytime an MLB team wants to purchase the contract of a player, that's also part of the contract. They're able to do that for any of the players in our league at any point.
Now, going the opposite way, is there a number of ex-major leaguers that come in to try to finish their career or start to play manage in certain circumstances where that they may not have the ability to play on the field up on the highest level anymore, but want to start learning the management ropes and things of that nature? Do you have a certain percentage that falls into that category?
Yeah, Bobby Jenks.
Yeah, Bobby's not playing, but Bobby's certainly managing in our league. His sometimes battery mate with that World Series White Sox team, Chris Widger, is the manager in Sussex County, New Jersey, which is always fun to see Bobby versus Widge. So the short answer is we really don't have the player manager happen. But we definitely have guys with big league experience who either are trying to work their way back up or who are winding down their careers looking to transition. We've had multiple former big leaguers as managers. Richie Sexton has been a manager in our league. Danny Schlereth has been a manager. And I coached for Danny and Joliet. Obviously right now we've got Jenks and Widge. Larry Rothschild is a pitching coordinator in our league, was this last season. So, there's a number of those. And then you get the players like Dennis Phipps or Rob Whalen or, guys who have been up there who are, last year we had multiple. I don't want to name one without naming them all. So I'm going to just refrain from that, but multiple guys with big league time who are, again, either looking to get back or looking to transition to the next phase of their career. And so maybe they'll be a hitting coach or a pitching coach as well as still playing. And so we see that more than we see the manager. I will say that we do, because, of our priority on getting guys that next shot, we definitely do hold some and it's changed over the years, but we have an age cap. So you can only carry a certain number of players age 30 or over, which also plays into that, former players not being able to manage, because that would take one of those veteran slots from somebody else. And those are really valuable for us because we do cap that in order to keep our league
more developmental rather
young. Yeah. And again, that we could become an older league, but we really are passionate about seeing guys get that next opportunity. So we've got guys who've got 5 years experience who are 23 years old, 5 years of affiliated experience who will play in our league, and then we've got guys coming straight out of college at 26, and guys coming back down from the big leagues at 28, 29. So it's a wide spectrum of experience, but we do try to cap the age.
So you were talking about earlier some of the teams that you've added. Is the goal to remain regional, or is nationwide on the table for it?
I don't think we'll ever be truly nationwide. I don't want to speak for our owners and directors, but being minor league clubs in some of our clubs, bigger markets, some of them traditional minor league markets. I don't think we can ever get to the spot where we're jumping on airplanes. Just from a economic standpoint, that wouldn't make sense for what we do. But we definitely are proud of the fact that we've got a Canadian presence. We got we're strong in Quebec. It's no news if you follow our league that one of our big priorities is to bring professional baseball back to Montreal. And so we're really proud of our Canadian footprint, and we're every one of the markets we're in, whether they were a founding member of our league or are one of the ones that we've added very recently. We really do try to make sure that drives, but those bus rides are manageable, and still give opportunities for everybody to play everybody every couple of years. So I know that might be a political answer, but it's as good as I can get without speaking for our board.
No, that makes sense.
Do the leagues ever, when I say the leagues, for instance, I have done some work with the Lancaster Barnstormers, who was not a team that you had mentioned. So I assume that they are in a different league all the way around.
Lancaster's in the Atlantic League. Yeah.
Okay. So I have to assume that when you mention these 4 leagues that are do they ever cross play? Is it do you play against different leagues, or is it just kind of we're just going to do that? Maybe we'll do an all-star game or something like that, but beyond
Charity
that, it's
event.
not really.
Yeah. So there actually is a there was a tournament a couple of years ago that took, you know, the champion from each of the leagues in North America and allowed a tournament play that not affiliated with us. I'll say that the logistical issues with that are that our contract years don't line up. So
Understood.
to play after the season, you're not getting so I'll use Lancaster as an example. My last season in Joliet, I traded one of my pitchers to Lancaster once our season had ended so he could make the playoff run with them, right? So he's not going to be on my roster if we play in that tournament. Lancaster's contracts end the day their season ends. Ours end a little later. So they don't have anybody under contract to go play that. So it's just there are logistical issues that make an actual representative group of or a tournament of that nature difficult. There's always talk, and you know we're always interested in those out of the box ideas. It's just kind of one of those things that syncing everybody's schedule up is pretty difficult in that way. You know, we did play as Frontier League. We played the Can-Am for the Can-Am All-Stars versus our All-Stars back, you know, 6 or 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, and you know, there's that sort of thing if you can work out the geographic and calendar logistics on that.
And then the last question that I have for you is mainly for the people that have never been to like a Frontier League or basically any independent league game, just based on where they live in the country or whatnot. Outside of the quality of play, like what type of environment would fans be getting themselves into if they wanted to start kind of going to these independent baseball leagues for obviously cheaper entertainment, but it's still professional entertainment at that?
Sure. You know, we pride ourselves on being family friendly. Our clubs are family friendly. You're going to be entertained. You're going to get a high level quality of baseball. For some folks who are used to affiliated minor league baseball, you might not notice any difference whatsoever coming to our games. You know, we really do try to put on the best entertainment, the best show we can for our crowds. You know, trying to think around the league just a little bit. You know, if you go to a Windy City Thunderbolts game on a Thursday night, you're going to get a great game followed by pro wrestling on the concourse afterwards. If you go to a game in New York for the New York Boulders game in Rockland County, New York, they've got a great miniature golf course out in the right field area that you can play mini golf and take your kids. If you go see a game in Florence, your kids can jump on the train and take a train around the ballpark. All sorts of stuff to do. You know, you got beer gardens, you've got entertainment. You know, it's everything you would expect. For those of you who are well versed in the history of professional baseball and how it's evolved. The Veck family owns the team in Joliet now, along with Bill Murray. And if you've ever seen fireworks at a baseball game or music or stuff going on between innings, you know, it was the Vecks who pioneered literally all of that. You know, so it's both something that you're going to be familiar with, but something that because we don't have necessarily the same strictures as some others, might be a little more exciting and give you a chance to experience things in a new way. I just say, for instance, in Florence, they do a stampede of kids across the field, running from one side of the field to the other between innings. First time I was there, Coach, I'm standing in the coach's box, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of kids running across the field behind me. I didn't know what was going on, but it's a great experience for your family, for the kids to get that opportunity to run the bases after games. You know, all those sorts of things that you might not be able to do with a big league club or your local AAA club. that we really try to make the game accessible, our players accessible, and the fan experience accessible in ways that they aren't necessarily elsewhere.
What's the average ticket price for one of the games? Obviously, you guys are a little ways away from me, so
Yeah, it really depends. Every market is different. 18 to $20 ticket is pretty average. $2 Tuesdays are still something that happened in a number of our ballparks. Thirsty Thursdays, a great chance, for you to go out a little different. A lot of our teams will do like a 4 for $50 kind of deal where you get 4 tickets for $50 and maybe some merch or food credit as well. It's really tailored to each market in our league. We want to make sure every team is extremely dialed into what their local market can support and makes it accessible for that family of 4 to come out and have a great game, or your office to come and have a party, and just get together outside of the office, that sort of thing. Everybody's really dialed into that in their local markets.
And when does your league start? Does it traditionally start like at the start of Major League Baseball, or does it go before that, like into a spring training mode?
Yeah, we start our actual, what we call our championship season, this year, May 8th, May 9th. That's normally right around when we'll start, and looking at Labor Day weekend as the end of that season before we roll into playoffs. That's generally our calendar footprint. We do, teams are going to play 96 games, plus playoffs. That's we try to take most Mondays off unless there's a holiday or another reason, special event reason, just for travel and giving a sense of normalcy for at least one day a week to some of our folks who work so hard during the season. But that's our that third week of April is normally our tryout camp, and then spring training runs immediately following that draft, and start the season that 8th or 9th or 10th of May.
Do you see much walk-on action, or is it all mostly like drafted in?
Yeah, no, most guys are going to be either signed or come through the individual teams. Again, every team's going to bring two players in from the draft. Every team's going to bring two players into camp from the draft, but there are 24 roster spots coming out of camp. 25 this year. We're going to change it up a little bit and give a flex spot for the first few weeks of the season, since our camps are so short. But you're looking at 24 permanent roster spots, 30 to 32 shooting, fighting for that final roster spot. And again, it's some's word of mouth, some's coming through, some are coming through team tryouts, where we'll run a local tryout camp for folks in the St. Louis area or in New Jersey or wherever. And then international players, we'll look at international scouting, international combines, that sort of thing. And Tyler J is a great example. I brought him up earlier. Tyler was a number 6 overall pick, storied pitcher out of the University of Illinois, was in the Twins system, and had some health issues. Tyler's agent literally just sent me a blind email at 8:00 on a Monday morning saying, "Hey, my guy's looking to get back in. Would you give him a tryout?" Yeah, absolutely. And he came and worked out. And we do that sort of thing with folks all the time. Give guys a chance to work out, earn a spot.
And my last question is, obviously, when most of the things we talk about are Major League Baseball, and these guys make millions of dollars. Do your players get paid? And what would be like an average contract worth? I mean, these guys are obviously, it's a whole different world, so I can imagine it's different. But just to give an appreciation to some of our listeners that, hey, these guys are working hard for just about nothing.
Yeah, I can't give you a number on that. I can tell you our players are paid for the duration of our season. I will tell you that none of them are making enough in that season to not have to have another job the rest of the year. None of them. It's something that you do out, for the love of the game. Our teams use either host families or team housing for that, so the player doesn't have to pay those expenses during the season. And obviously, we'll take care of them while we're on the road. But nobody in our league is in it for the career to make the money. It's very traditional what you think about as, again, pre-contraction minor league pay. You gotta do it for the love of it. There's a lot that is not paid during the off season, and you're putting the work in and you're doing the development because you love the game of baseball. You've got a dream. You love the camaraderie of the team sport, whatever it is, that whatever your why is that drives you to do it. But it ain't money. I'll tell you that.
I would imagine it's similar. So I played arena ball, and the way that it paid for us, of course, I'm not affiliated anymore, so I can talk about it, is, we got paid, a few $100 for the game. And then, our travel expenses and food and stuff while we were on the road was paid for. I would imagine it's something similar.
It's similar, but not on a per game basis. You can think about how a football schedule would lay out in a month, and it's similar at least.
Yeah, that there's probably
that was the if I'm close, blink twice kind of.
Exactly. And I guess if I have one last question, because every time I hear about an independent league, the first person that comes to my mind is JD Drew. And I was not a fan of JD Drew because he decided not to come to my Phillies. Who would be maybe one of the higher profile Major League Baseball players that have come through your league?
Well, I encourage everybody to look at our history at frontierleague.com and hit those. I'll tell you, Jason Simon-Tachi has an award named after him because he's one of the early success stories of coming out of nowhere and having a nice career. There are the guys who've played in our league, and I want to just I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's not just the guys who play who end up with big time careers in sports, whether it be in player development or on coaching staffs, or we've got big league bench coaches, and you might know the name Jason Benetti. He got his broadcasting career started at the Windy City Thunderbolts before ultimately moving to the White Sox, and then the Tigers and Fox. Yeah. So ESPN, now Fox Sports, Connor Onion, who does a lot of football. If you watch big time Division I football, these guys started in our league, and there are those stories on every level of organizations, or every department of organizations coming out of the Frontier League over our history. And the next guy, who knows who the next guy is going to be. One of my favorite young pitchers is a kid named Chris Roycroft. He's in the Cardinals organization. He's up and down between AAA and the big leagues last year. Chris was a Division III, not scouted anywhere. He's a basketball player at Division III Aurora University. He gets scouted at a game in Gateway Grizzlies, which is just outside of St. Louis in Sauget, Illinois. and ends up making it all the way to the big leagues from, a Dick's Sporting Goods checkout position. And those are the stories as much as the guys who are heralded. Kumar Rocker pitched in our league. That's a big name that probably everybody will know. For the Kumar Rockers of the world, it's the guys who are literally, tagging baseballs at Dick's who make it. Those are my personal favorite stories.
Guys busting their ass just for the love of the game.
That's right.
That's what's awesome. Like I said, trust me, I'm not a big fan of JD Drew, and I'll just leave it at that.
So I mean, if people are watching and they were wanting to try and secure a tryout, right?
Yep.
So they are working at Dick's. They've been out of the game for a little bit. They're still going to batting cages, doing what they need to do to stay up on the sport. How would they? I mean, I imagine there's a way through the website, but how would they go about contacting a coach of their local team to try and get that tryout?
Yeah, each team will have their own contact info listed, but I will say in the next about 14 days we'll be announcing our 2025 tryout camp and draft. I can say it's going to be in the Chicago area, right around Easter, and we're going to be announcing that. It compared to some other leagues tryouts, it's extremely affordable. We want to cover our costs, and that's it. We're not out looking to charge someone a lot of money to give them the opportunity to showcase themselves. Again, you follow us on social media, check out our website. That'll be coming in the next probably 2 weeks. We'll get that posted, and otherwise, I can just say, if you have that drive and you're keeping up on it, contact your local team. And if they don't have the direct, a group tryout for you, they'll funnel you to our league tryout. But each manager will is pretty accessible, particularly during the season.
Right. And we appreciate you taking all the time with us. Tied up way more of your day than we originally planned, but it's been a great conversation. How can people find you, your league? Where are you on social media?
Yeah, we're on all the majors. FL Pro Baseball on I'm going to say Twitter, because I'm not going to I'm not going to ever change. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as well as at frontierleague.com on the interwebs.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time.
Thanks again for hopping on, Matt.
For coming
Absolutely.
out, Matt.
Hey, I appreciate the chance to talk about our league. I'm really proud of it, and I hope you guys all get the chance to come out and see one of our games. Philly, we got enough in a close drive to you. Let's stay in touch. I'll meet you for a game, buy a hot dog. How about that?
That'd be awesome.
I would love that. I like going out to those because usually anybody around our area knows me pretty well. So coming out there and just supporting the minor leagues is part of what I'd love to do. So I would absolutely love for you to come buy me a hot dog and maybe a beverage of sorts.
Exactly.
All right. Great talking to you guys.
Great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fun to talk to. Yeah, 20 minutes, huh?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Hey, I'm not the one that kept asking questions.
I'm one of those guys that I just want to know. It's interesting to me. And if it's interesting to me, I kind of imagine it's interesting to other people as well. It's some of these questions are not the easiest questions to answer. He was able to tiptoe around some of the things. We're like, hey, I can't tell you how much these guys make, but it ain't a lot. And
exactly.
I'd love to say that JD Drew was in our league, but I didn't like him either. So it's like,
exactly. No. That's why I jumped in on that. I was like, am I close?
And it's the right time to start talking baseball. I mean, these guys
training, because catchers and pitchers report in like 3 weeks to a month, depending on the team. Because the Cubs and Dodgers have to report early because they have the Japan series to begin the year, so they actually report 10 days before everybody else does.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
And what is it?
basically
I think it's what, the 14th, right? I think it's actually Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
it's basically Super Bowl week off baseball.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's not even a full week off. I
no
think it's like,
catchers and
no,
pitchers.
exactly. Yeah.
Catchers and pitchers report between the 14th and the 16th. The first spring games are the 23rd. Cubs and Dodgers report on February 7th, just because they leave for those 4 days to go to Japan, and then they come back for another 10 days of the rest of spring, so they get to report like a week sooner.
I am. So yeah. There
Yeah,
you
I
have it.
mean the quality of play in the Frontier League is good. Like I saw a couple games last year with the Windy City Bolts, because that's obviously one of the closest teams to me, and then the Schaumburg Boomers. So like, without knowing what the Frontier League actually is, you would just think it's like a regular AA minor league baseball game. It has the excitement that the crowd likes, like all the games, all the stuff that the families like to do. Is affordable games, but you're still getting good quality play.
There you go.
Well, and I do like that they have a championship, so to speak, to play for, because that is one of the things with, A-ball. It really is that developmental league, right? So
Well, you still have the championship at A-ball, but like a lot of those
You do.
teams,
it, it's different.
well,
Like it feels different.
yeah, because a lot of those teams could care less if you strike out 200 times at the plate in low A. It's just about like, oh, this is like pitch selection. If you want to swing at breaking balls, you swing at them at this count, not at this count, and they don't care if you go 0-9 with an 11.40 ERA as a starter. It's literally just learning how to throw the pitches and where to locate them.
No, but that's my point.
Yeah.
So it's got a little bit different feel. Again, I'm mildly competitive, so.
Well, no, and that's why, like even when I mentioned the Lancaster Barnstormers, it doesn't surprise me that he was able to trade a pitcher, because that's what they do. They actually go after to win the championship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's looked at as a matter of pride for the organization to do everything they can to win that championship. So that's why they were able to make a trade in between, the end of the season. Like, oh, he ain't pitching there anymore. Guess what? We got a playoff run. Come pitch over here, please. You know what I mean? So before you go to winter ball or fall ball or anything like that, you could come get on a team and actually play at a very competitive level, where it's not just games that are simulated.
I'm gonna stay in touch with him, because I'd like to try to get invited to the tryout, like the tryout, the league tryout and the league draft that they're doing in Chicago, to like experience that, and maybe even do, like, depending on what day of the week it is, if like you guys are doing the coast to coast show, if it's still going on at that point, videotape it just so you guys can kind of
What are
get
you saying? What are you trying to tell people? That we're
Are we
the
getting
air here?
across
That we're
the air?
getting
What's
canceled?
happening?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, if it's like April and we have like days off in April, because if Pegs is doing stuff for the draft, obviously he's not going to be around for a couple days, and depending on like what's going on at the time frame that the tryout's going on.
Well, if I'm up there for the draft, you better be there, or else I ain't
Right?
staying there. I ain't babysitting your kids.
No, the tryout's gonna be before the NFL draft, but it's just like, as long as we have a show that day, like with people being
Like,
on the show.
I was going to say, we're all descending on your house for the draft. Like, what are you talking about?
But I would like to try to get like a live stream of some sorts on the show, like if we can get invited to that tryout. So I think it'd just be cool to just kind of see how they go about it, how they go about the draft, and just to be like, this is what goes into the process of us signing the players to these teams.
Well, I mean, depending on the timing, obviously,
For Chicago's
if
Chicago's
if the show is, if it's before or after the show airs, then, you just record a segment. We'll play the segment.
Yeah, I mean, it's close to my house, like not close, but like only 3 hours from me, so it's not like it's a far drive where I can easily make the drive for a day and then come home.
Sure.
So, there.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Speaking about covering stuff, yesterday I covered the press conference of the Delaware State University announcement of their new head coach, Deshaun Jackson.
How was that?
That was, so that was my very first press conference,
Okay.
and I did go painted up, to support him. It was interesting to say the least. I probably was, and I don't mean this to say this as I'm like patting myself on the back, but I was probably the second most recognizable guy there. You know what I mean? That's like, it was like I got a lot of pictures with everybody from the governor of Delaware, the treasurer of Delaware, the president of the university, Deshaun Jackson, his mother, and the coaching staff that he has brought in. And I did get to ask a couple of, like, I got to ask one question for my video that maybe everybody saw on Instagram. But for the most part, like, I did ask a question during the actual press conference, which he got excited to answer, which was exciting for me because it was my first real press conference question. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's like you always wonder, like, these guys are, he handled the press conference great. I thought that he was very on point and poignant about his message and getting across, like, hey, we are not going to rebuild this team. This team won 2 games last year. This ain't rebuilding. We're going to do better by better coaching. And a story on that. And he's going up against a friend of his. Michael Vick is coaching at Norfolk State, so they're in the same conference. So this is now Division 1A football. So I mean, these guys are going to, like, go at it each other, and he gave some credence to Prime, saying, hey, he's the one that kind of opened the door for this to be able to do this. I learned that he coached a high school team last year where they were 1 point away from winning the state championship. So that was the reason why he was offered this job in the first place, because you wonder where do you think that you could start to coach a team? It's like, I'm not getting a phone call to coach a team. Just because I didn't, just because you played football, does that make you qualified to make coach? I didn't know that he had coached a high school team.
Yeah.
So like, he brought one of his mentor coaches with him to be like the assistant head coach, or maybe offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, however they're announcing that there. But was a very it was interesting. And like I said, I thought I asked a very poignant question. My question was to him, if in the climate of college sports right now, being more focused on the individual athlete with the NIL, how do you plan on keeping the focus more on team? And he answered that really strong. He's like, we're going to be bringing in the ex-players, the ex-coaches. We're going to be explaining to these students how much that it's important to be part of this team. The NIL is going to happen. If you get offered more money to go play somewhere else, I understand that it's likely I'm going to lose them. Yep. But I can only do what I can do and make sure that their experience here is a great one, so that if you're getting offered a certain amount of money and it's not what you want, maybe you decide to wait rather than going after the little bit of money. You come back and you stay with the team rather than going and pursuing your own attributes. So, like, if you're going to turn down $1 million, that's one thing. If you're going to turn down $1,000, because somebody said, hey, they're going to give you $1,000 to just go switch over to there, which some of these players have gotten. They said, hey, we're going to give you $1,000, and then they don't get any money. And then it's, they're crying about the $1,000, which sounds ridiculous, but that's kind of your own fault. So, and I was real appreciative of the answer, and also told him, hey, listen, when you need some extra energy, you want some energy on these stands, you know who to call. So, I was going to try to get to it and maybe put that up there today, but we went a little bit long on the.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great that he hung out. So
no, I appreciate it. Like I said, I only expected him to be around for 20 minutes, but he got to stay around for the rest of it, which was great. I really do appreciate it, because it's important to kind of hear. I like hearing those stories. It's one thing when you're hearing the stories about, hey, it's we're here now and I'm fighting, I'm making lots of money, and it's, your story gets a little diluted when you think about all that stuff that you're doing now in comparison to, I rode the pine over on, single A baseball, and I had to fight to just get on the field. And then I got on the field, and then I started to show some stuff. And then something clicked for me from one of the coaches. And next thing you know, it's like, like I said, I was tagging baseballs at Dick's, and now I'm throwing them in the major league.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's those types of stories.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, that is awesome. For everybody watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. Watching on Roku TV, stay tuned for the next hour. Great show, guys.
Yeah, and real quick before we do this, yes, prayers to California with everything that's going on. We know we didn't talk football today. I read some of the comments and everything that's going on, so we appreciate the fact that you guys have acknowledged that and what have you. We know we will be back at it tomorrow, talking all the stuff that you guys put in the chat. But yeah, we appreciate you not busting our balls too much about the fact that we were talking baseball today.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, when we have guests on, if you guys are watching,
They
feel
can
free to ask questions.
Yeah.
If you're asking questions of our guests, we'll absolutely put them in. But because we had a baseball guy on, we were talking about his league. Obviously, we weren't going to talk about football in the middle of that.
Right. So, but we'll be back again tomorrow to talk football and fires.
Well,
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be funny about that. But
Could be LA, could be coaches. You never know. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Take it easy, everybody.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports.